أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
7 minutes past 12, you are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mara Mukwanda. Conflict is an integral part of human communication, and yet it is something that people struggle with the most. When harnessed effectively, conflict can be the impetus for new breakthroughs and a higher energy, yet it can also bring a relationship or a whole organization to a halt. On today's segment with Islamic Care Line, Counselor Shuhaida Adam will be talking about the differences between good, healthy, and unhealthy conflict. Let's find out more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shuhaida, shukran for joining me once again.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Always a pleasure to be here and discussing these matters and engaging with the listeners and viewers of Salam Media.
Seems like we are losing connection with you, Shuhaida.
Okay, is this a bit better? Sister Mariam, can you hear me clearly now?
Looking to get your kick? Kiki's have now reopened on 235 Matthews Maiwa Road in Durban. Head on over for the Taste with Kick. We offer something scrumptious for everyone in the family. Wraps, chicken tikka, burgers, tender grills, mocktails, milkshakes, and so much more. Corporate and events catering available. Visit our social media pages for more info or call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the Taste with Kick.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations, call now on 042-203-1400 or visit kwantu.co.za. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
From the townships of South Africa, the refugee camps in Syria, or orphanages in Yemen, the eyes of the needy speak volumes with just one glare. We know what it's like to be at ground zero, with food essentials, clothing and blankets, fresh water portal trucks, and even on-site navigators. We use every cent to better their tomorrow. Become part of our journey to bring relief to all. Go to www.ashrafulaid.org or call us on 011-809-8181. Ashraful Aid, under the auspices of Maulana Suhail Wadi.
What makes Randery Jewelers the optimum place for your memorable gift? Is it our range of exclusive, high-end, luxurious jewellery? Or is it our master craftsmanship of all your bespoke jewellery needs? We believe it's because at Randery Jewelers, we know just how to make your special moments last forever. Whether it's for a wedding, anniversary, or just a simple gift to show your love, trust Randery Jewelers to make it special. www.randeryjewelers.com. Make your moments last forever with Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
It's a new beginning. It's a new era. Salam Media, humanitarian journalism.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Mid-Morning Talk on Salam Media with me, Mari Mukwanda, and I'm just going to reintroduce the topic. We had a bit of a technical issue earlier on, but hopefully this is a better medium. The conflict is an integral part of human communication, and yet it is something that people struggle with the most. When harnessed effectively, conflict can be the impetus for new breakthroughs and higher energy, yet it can also bring a relationship or a whole organization to a halt. And to tell us more, we have Counselor Shuhaida Adam from Islamic Careline. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh again, Shuhaida, and shukran for joining me.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Is this much better? Is this clearer for you?
Yes, I can hear you now. But earlier on, it was breaking, it was cutting, and I couldn't hear. But alhamdulillah, it's much better now. So, conflict. First of all, what is good, healthy conflict?
Okay, so, let's go a little bit back about our perceptions of conflict. We often think conflict equates to fighting, violence, extreme forms of disagreement, and there's always a negative outcome. We think conflict, we think on a very broad scale, when we think of conflict, we think of war, we think of, it's got a very negative connotation. So people are quite surprised to hear that there can be healthy conflict. What is conflict though? Conflict, we look at the concept of having disagreements, having differences in opinions, differences in ideas between people. When we have a difference, we can put that together as a conflict. Now, there can be different outcomes to conflict. So healthy conflict is one where there are positive outcomes. It's often where people, they learn from it. They are able to display healthy conflict resolution skills. So with this, we'll say it's rather a win-win situation, or people are able to compromise. At the end of the day, this conflict is resolved in a very safe space. Nobody is being attacked. People's voices are being heard. People's opinions are being accepted. People are allowed to share. And it's a very safe space to express differences. Healthy conflict is, of course, also where it's bound by respect. It's bound by, depending on the relationship also, it's also bound by love. So if it's a more closer relationship between family members, between spouses, the conflict is bound by love, meaning that when we engage with our partner, it's underpinned by that love that we have. And love is, of course, a very positive feeling. Love does not hurt and harm people. So healthy conflict has a healthy outcome at the end of the day. It is safe. It allows us to learn. It allows us to grow. It can create deeper intimacy between the people involved in the conflict. So again, depending on the nature of the relationship, the context of the relationship, and the context of the conflict. And it also builds on respect between people. So I think to sum up, that's sort of an understanding of healthy conflict. And then, of course, in a bit of a more professional environment, conflict can be very productive. So if you look at your work environments where there's certain differences in, for example, if a team is tackling a project and there are differences, at the end of the day, we want that conflict to be productive for the team. The project needs to grow and thrive, and the outcomes should be achieved through navigating through this conflict.
Now, what are the differences between healthy and unhealthy conflict, and how do you recognize them?
Okay, so I spoke a little bit about some positive aspects of healthy conflict where people feel safe to express whatever the difference is. They can express their feelings, they can express their thoughts around the difference, the disagreement. There's safety, there's respect, there's acceptance, and there's understanding in healthy conflict. There's a willingness to work it out. So if two people have a difference, they are willing to hear what the other person is saying and take their opinion, take their thoughts, and then work through it. So there's a willingness to come to common ground. Either we can have a win-win situation, so we both get what we want out of these differences, or we can have a compromise where we meet each other halfway. That is healthy. When it's unhealthy, we look at unhealthy conflict. Essentially is one that is unsafe. So we are scared of sharing our thoughts and our differences because of what we envisage the outcome to be. Unhealthy conflict, of course, the unhealthiest outcomes are violence and aggression, but also there's the non-physical outcomes. So things like being cut off from your partner, being discriminated against because you shared something, being treated in a very cold way. There can be unhealthy conflict in that regard. Being ignored can also be an unhealthy aspect of conflict. And then, of course, there's the belittling, there's the insulting, the total disregard for somebody. And then the control. Oftentimes, some people, we want to control other people through conflict. So where there's a difference, I try to shut you down and I try to force you to then do what I want you to do. So that again is another matter of power and control, and we're looking at manipulation also. So those are some very unhealthy and highly harmful aspects of conflict resolution.
So, healthy conflict, can it flourish, or can healthy conflict flourish, or can it become unhealthy eventually?
Healthy conflict can definitely flourish. We often think that the happiest of marriages are the ones where there's no conflict and there's no arguments and there's no differences between the partners. However, therapists have recognized that it's normal day-to-day aspects of life that there will be some form of conflict in a relationship. And it's not the amount of conflict that you have in the relationship that determines how healthy it can be, but it's the resolution at the end of the day, the outcome. Because you are entitled to a difference of opinion. It is your right within a relationship to have a disagreement, to think differently to a partner, and that will be there. So healthy relationships do have differences. However, it's how we resolve it. Oftentimes we find that certain relationships, they had no arguments, there was no real conflict. But at the end of the day, it's very unsatisfying. People's needs are not being met. And then that relationship can end up in a divorce. And people often, they are quite lost as to why is this occurring, because at face value, there was no conflict. However, the underlying issue there was that there was possibly avoidance of differences, or when there were differences, the couples just ignored it, or the one gave in to keep the peace. So therefore, the conflict was not actually resolved. So healthy relationships can flourish with conflict. Conflict can flourish within a healthy relationship. Like I said earlier, it all depends on how we resolve this conflict. When the differences are either we win, both parties are happy with the outcome, and both parties are truly happy because their needs and wants are taken into account. And it's not just where one party decides they're going to be happy to keep the peace of the relationship. So conflict can definitely enhance a relationship. Like I said earlier, it can build on the respect and it can build on the intimacy between the partners.
Mm-hmm. Now, like you mentioned, that people often see a happy couple and feel like, these people don't fight, they don't argue, until you're actually in their presence and they argue more than what you would expect. But it's normal, like you said, because it's healthy conflict. It's conflict that helps you grow and understand yourself and the other person. And how can we resolve unhealthy conflict, or rather shift it to become more healthy?
Okay, so first, we'd like for people to take a bit of a time out. Okay, so where you can sense that there's a difference and it's building, something is building. This again is where self-awareness comes in, the way and understanding of emotions, and it's so critical for both partners to be able to recognize and be perceptive into different types of emotions that somebody may be feeling. So to have to develop a bit of intuition also. So to sense that, either sense it with yourself and sense it with your partner, that we're reaching a bit of conflict, we're reaching a point here where we don't agree with this, and we are now struggling to resolve this matter. It's not something where either of us is willing to just give up and it's something unimportant. So have a little bit of self-awareness and then take a little bit of a time out. When we have a little bit of time out, especially when things get a bit heated, when people are struggling they're struggling a little bit with their emotions or with their feelings around it, even if you're not really certain about how you're feeling about this, and you may be feeling a bit pressurized in that situation to make a decision or to compromise immediately. If you need some time out, we often say take some time out, just so you can have an understanding to to identify what exactly is going on. Why is this conflict coming up? And how do you feel about it? So take some time out to recognize your feelings. If you are feeling a bit upset, if you're feeling worked up about it, then also that time out gives you some time to cool down, identify where exactly is the root of this coming from, and then again to think a bit productively about how are you going to resolve this. Okay, how would you like to go about it? Even it gives you some time to respond to what exactly was said in the maybe the heat of the moment, and how you would like to move forward. Okay, so but taking the time out doesn't just necessarily mean walking away without saying a word. Explain to the person that you're in conflict with that you need some time out, you'd like some time out, and you think maybe it will be beneficial for both of you to take a little bit of time out. Say even why you need it. You can say that I can't think clearly, I'm a bit angry about this, or I want some more time, I feel pressured. Okay, so take that time and suggest a time when you think you'll be ready to resume the discussion. Sometimes you may need a few minutes, you may need an hour, you may need a day, you may need a week. So just decide on the time and then inform the person also, because this is also, we have to put in some communication here in our conflict resolution. So informing the person also that I'd like to resume this discussion maybe at a certain time. Okay, you appoint the time also, and then when you both can agree on it, then you can both take that time out. Then we need you to just sort of do something to help yourself relax. Usually you know what works for you best. Some people will maybe need to go have a meal, a cup of coffee. Some people will need to pray a bit. Some people will want to discuss it with somebody else, get some guidance from a trusted person, that kind of a thing. Okay. Then you're going to want to bring your assertive skills into the situation. When you're ready to resume the conversation with the person, you're going to, I would like for people to have assertiveness, and then bringing that assertive skills into the conversation now. Ideally, I can give you sort of a guide that we use with our couples also. We ask them to define the problem. What exactly is the difference here? Be very specific about what it is. It's very helpful to be specific so both parties can be on the same page. Okay. Then list ways in which you contributed towards whatever this is happening, the difference here, the conflict, the disagreement. Where is it coming from? So just discuss where is it coming from, how did it come about. Okay, and this doesn't have to be long discussions. This can be a little bit of discussing the pointers. Okay, then you can talk a little bit about what have you done to resolve this issue. So it's almost like a recap for this person. Recapping what have you both tried to do to resolve this. So even with our couples, when they are speaking about a difference, it just helps to recap, but without discussing why it didn't really work in the past. Okay, so because if you go into why it didn't work and you rehash history, you're probably going to be walking around in circles in this one. Then you've got to brainstorm. This is also where we have to sort of let our need our need for control and let our need to win the situation. We have to let that go. And then we're going to have to come up with some new ideas. It helps when people become creative, try something different. Of course, you will always have a line where you feel I cannot accept certain things. These now go completely against my values, or it's illegal, or it's something that this is where I draw the line. But until that line is not crossed, try as much as possible, have a spirit of cooperation. Okay, so even if it's something you may necessarily have never considered before, an idea that may take you out of your comfort zone, have a spirit of cooperation, be willing to try. I think that's such a key thing, and so many partners are happy enough that their spouse is willing to try, and just willing to try for their sake, so that we can come to a win-win situation. Okay, so brainstorm some ideas, some solutions, and discuss and evaluate it with each. Discuss and evaluate each solution with your partner or the person who you are disagreeing with and you're having the conflict with. Okay, so if you can see, we try not to focus on the why this won't work and why we're having this problem and why. We're trying to also have sort of a very a win-win focus, a solution focus, and then be objective as possible. Okay, so even when you're discussing these ideas of how can we resolve the different ideas, what are the different options that we can go about and utilizing, try to be as objective as possible, and then try one solution. Okay, so both of you need to agree on one way that you can try, and because now you've already put down, let's say, five different options of whatever it is, whatever ideas you've come up with. So you've also agreed to this five, that these five are possible. It's possible for you to use this five. So it's time to then agree to one. And then how will you be able to be a part of the solution? What will your role be? What will your partner's role be? Because it's not just about what do I do and what do I bring to the table, but it's equal, right? It's a partnership. It's people. It's both parties bringing some form of responsibility, and bringing something to the table to work with. So agree how you will both work towards this. Again, we try and make our couples be as specific as possible. So not anything vague or something that doesn't really have a timeline, because then we tend to lapse also. So try to be as specific with what your input will be. Okay. And then you can actually give yourselves time to do this input, give yourselves time to work on the solution, and decide when will you reconvene. And then if you've made progress in this, something nice is to actually reward yourselves for the progress. If it worked out in the end, reward yourselves. Even if it didn't work out as you planned, maybe reward yourselves for actually working together, for coming to a solution that you're both okay with and that you both accept. And even if it was not what your original idea was or your original request was, reward yourself for the compromise that you made. Okay, or even acknowledge with your partner the compromise that they made. Praise your partner's effort that they made. Thank them for changing their mind, for going along with this idea, for contributing, something along those lines. Whatever the nature is going to be, thank people for the effort, acknowledge it, and reward yourselves for working well together. I just want to throw a little bit of parenting in here also, what you can do. Also to help teach our children about conflict resolution, because they are also going to face this in the school environment and as they grow older in their own working environment and in their own relationships. You can also try and, how do I say, you can try and facilitate some sort of a minor difference between the two of you as the parents, and then model for your child how you are going to resolve this conflict. Okay, so it needs to be, your child needs to be able to see that there's a difference here between what the parents are thinking and what the parents want, and then show the children how you can resolve this so they can also learn healthy conflict resolution skills. So it's, as you can see, it's not just about you and your spouse or you and your partner or you and your colleague, but also the bigger picture, the environment around you, your colleagues around you, the organization, the organization's objectives, achieving the tasks that need to be completed, etc. Okay, so it's having healthy conflict resolution skills is a win-win for you and for your family and for your community and for your work environment, and therefore, inshallah, as for the broader society as well.
And actually, I was going to ask you about kids, and luckily you mentioned that, but I also wanted to know in terms of parent-to-child conflict resolution. But I see time is not on our side, and perhaps we can tackle that another time, inshallah. How do we resolve conflict with our children at different ages, from toddlers right up to the teens and even in their 30s, 40s, etc.?
Okay, no, that's a wonderful topic, and like you say, I think there's so much to it, so we'll have to do a program on its own with that topic.
All right. So for now, shukran so much for your time once again, Shuhaida, and for the information. Have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum.
Afwan, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So conflict can be healthy and good, and there's also unhealthy conflict, but it is what you do about it to make it either unhealthy or healthy. If you've missed out on this segment, it will be available on Facebook as an audio, but you can still send your messages to our WhatsApp line on 061 766 0355. Healthy and unhealthy conflict and the differences between the two, with Shuhaida Adam, a counselor from Islamic Careline. If you'd like more information from Islamic Careline, you can also contact them on 011 373 8080, or just Google Islamic Careline, 2 separate words. Stay with us. We will be right back after the break.